trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing moves your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name's Eric. I make apps. So, this is the weekly live stream. Well, I say weekly, but it's been a few weeks since I've done it. There's been a few things over the last few weeks, which I've just been so busy lately that I haven't been able to do live streams. So it's been like 3 weeks since we had one. So it's possible nobody's going to show up tonight. It's possible I'm just sitting here talking about myself right now. But anyway, so I have not been really good with getting the live stream done. We've been dude, man, it has been so busy. We're working on I've got a bunch of client stuff that I'm just trying to finish off. So I'm doing lots of nights and weekends and mostly weekends, working on these some of these projects, just trying to get them over the finish line. I brought on a new developer, so we're working on a new project for Overpass. So that's really cool and really exciting. But I'm gonna keep that one kind of hush hush just for now because my past experience with talking about my apps and having them actually be, taken over and everything like that. And for the most part, it's just been busy. In fact, one of the things is I haven't done the live stream for a few weeks, is like I'm thinking, what are we going to talk about today? I mean, there's loads to talk about. We had that Firebase Summit last week, when they announced a few things. Like, I guess a lot of it wasn't really new, but a lot of that the app identity kind of stuff, which is pretty exciting to me. Which they announced app identity, or what's it called? App check, I think it's called. They announced that like months ago, but then they said now it's going to be applied to the Firestore database and all this kind of stuff, which is kind of cool. One of the big things we talk about with clients a lot is like, how do we protect our backend API to make sure that it's actually the app calling it, and if you're not using anything like OAuth. So that's something that's really cool. Also, there was a big news story today about that the privacy application, or is it like the spying, some of the Android applications, but not Google Play Android applications. Thus, Android applications have been sideloaded, which are actually spying on you all the time. It's something like, it was an interesting story if you guys haven't seen it, but like it's getting pretty weird out there. And what else is happening? The dislike button is going to be disappeared from YouTube. So like for some of us, sometimes we get those. If you guys have ever done YouTube videos, I hope you guys can hear me. If you do, you have like a whole bunch of likes and then like 2 or 3 dislikes. You're thinking, what's with the dislikes? So anyway, thanks everybody for showing up. For those, if anybody's here, let's see. Do we hear tumbleweeds? Do we hear the wind blowing? Let's see who's here. Oh, so we got Mark. Mark's here. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Good evening from the Cotswold, honky tonk man. Inside joke. Thanks, Mark. Solento App says, good evening from Rotterdam, Netherlands. Awesome, cool. Robert says, nice to have the live stream back on. Audio is loud and clear. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for telling me before I even did it. Like I said, if you start, like when I used to do the videos every day, it was almost easy because there wasn't a whole lot of people watching, but you get into the habit of doing it. It's like if you regularly work out and you get into the habit of working out and then you take like a couple weeks off, it's really hard to get back into it. So it's really hard to get back into doing just the normal videos. And I thought, even all day today thinking, should I really do the live stream? Does anybody really care about the live stream anymore? But, it's just nice to catch up. And there are days, today's just one of those days where I have not had a lot of human interaction. I've had hardly any human interaction today. I don't know if I've talked to anybody. I think I've had a couple of Slack conversations. So it was all text. Wow. This may be the first time I've opened my mouth today. So anyway, so I'm glad you guys are joining anyway. Let's see. Robert says, I'm working on my second iOS app and have a question about monetization. Cool. Let's do that. On Android, I've had good results with free apps, ads, and in-app purchases. What monetization is best for iOS? App is USA only for whatever that's worth. I would try both of them because what you'll find is that if you're using ad revenue, you're going to get a much better response. You're going to get much higher RPMs in a US-based app anyway. Or through iOS as well. So like for my, when I was looking at my RPMs separated between Android and iOS had a better RPM But if you could get, I mean, that's if the in-app purchases don't work. Like if you go in there, I would try first with in-app purchases, and if that doesn't work, if like, because you're going to need to get them to come into the free application anyway. So if that doesn't work with the in-app purchases, then I would start to introduce those ads in there, because like, you know, the key is to get them to download the app and actually come into it. And if they're coming in and they're not actually spending any money, then, you know, or they're not doing the subscriptions or the in-app purchases or whatever, however you're going to monetize that, then, you know, you might want to bring the ads in. I've always started ads first, and, you know, it's difficult. You do that, you know, remove ads kind of thing with the purchases. And my whole thing was like, in the old days, it was back in the old days when the apps were new and I was just a young nipper-snapper. Back in the old days, that was my whole thing. It was like, remove ads. I'll have an in-app purchase, remove ads. But a lot of people are just used to using ads. They're just, you know, why should they have a different experience than anybody else? So, so I would, yeah, to me, okay, let me go back. So I'll show you my app revenue here, Robert, just so we go through it. So my app revenue, I was just looking at it. It's pretty much like kind of dwindled. And I think the main thing is because I haven't updated my main app for quite a while. But let's see, if I show you my daily revenue report here for this last month, and this is like hardly having any downloads, right? Like this is like, I am that guy who wakes up one day and realizes he put on like 20 pounds gradually over the last couple of years. And you're like, oh my God, what's happened? Because my ad revenue, my downloads have been dwindling, everything's been dwindling, and I've been so focused on client work and some other projects that I've not been maintaining my apps. However, still having said that, this is my revenue report. So I know I've talked about this before. We have the daily revenue. I've done a few videos about this in the past, and this is just like over the last month. So you can see my ad mob is still doing pretty good, but that's across all my applications. But my, you know, I still consistently get, hey, how's it going? I still consistently get GBP every day. I'm sorry, iTunes revenue every single day. Whereas on Google Play, I hardly get anything, right? I mean, when I would look at my Google Play in-app purchases through the you know, the orders, the accounts, and everything like that, it was pretty sparse. Let me go back to earlier this year. You know, I mean, it's a trickle. I mean, granted, it's a trickle, but if you look at on Google Play, I have a lot of apps on Google Play, and most of them have been removed from iOS. So I mean, at least it's something coming in, and you can build upon that. It's something that's like since the beginning, since the very beginning, my main source of revenue. Jeez, that's big. My main source of revenue was Google Play, just because I had so many more downloads, and that's why most of the revenue came from AdMob, right? But when you looked at a per person revenue that comes from iOS, RPMs was higher and more people were willing to do in-app purchases, right? It's an easier experience, right? To actually go through and make those purchases through the iOS just in general. And they're more, you know, you can make the argument that they're more affluent. I mean, that's generally the way I think, which is kind of a snobby way to think about it. And you know, a lot of you guys who are Android developers, you're like, okay, well, Android is the dominant market. Like globally, it's like 80%. But like when you look at the US, it's pretty much 50-50. When you look at UK, it's pretty much 50-50. But when you look at revenue, iOS always does better for revenue. I mean, it has, you know, for me throughout. Now, for those of you guys out there who are also doing Android and iOS development, let me know if you're having that same experience, because, dude, it's exactly the way that it's been going for me. This way it's gone through me from the beginning. Let's see. I'm just standing like a. Okay, standing like a man. I'm just like, Kevin, how's it going? Let's see. Solanta asks, has anyone started to know? Let me make this a bit smaller here. I don't know how that happened. Solanta app says, has anyone started to notice changes in the Google Play ranking algorithm after enabling the app integrity check and changing the title from 50 to 30? My organic downloads dropped by 80%. Ooh, do you think it has to do with the app integrity check, or more to do with the smaller title? Because, you know, I'd imagine you'd be getting less keywords into that title if that's how you're actually monetizing it. And thanks for the thumbs up for everyone who's done the thumbs up. I appreciate it. Mr. Noob says, I'm learning Flutter. I hope that Google doesn't kill it. They're not going to kill it. Flutter's like, I mean, they just had, every time we talk about any development, Flutter's always in there. In my mind, you've got, like, it used to be, I used to think of Flutter as being equal to Ionic and React Native, but now it seems to be more of a player, because it's Google, and Google's like, we got Android, so we got Kotlin, and then we got Flutter, and so everything they're doing seems to be Flutter's involved, especially when it comes to like using Firebase and stuff like that. So yeah, I love using Flutter. I mean, it's like my favorite thing to use, and we've been doing some new projects in using Flutter, and it's just, you know, it just, there's so many libraries out there and everything like that. React Native, we've had a few projects in React Native, and I've coded a little bit on them, but mainly just to fix a few things. Like the developers were, you know, I'm like, okay, how does this work? Okay, well, obviously this is where the problem is. Let me just fix it here, because I can only ask them so many times. You kind of learn how to do it. But like holistically, it was not my language. Ionic I used a lot. I mean, I was a big Ionic user, especially the Ionic 1 before they changed everything. And even now we have some projects in Ionic 2, but I'm not an Ionic fan. I'm just, you know, I did a video about why I don't want to use Ionic anymore, and boy, people just lost their minds. Boy, talk about, you know, they should have removed the thumbs down button then. But when I think about Flutter, I think about like all the integrations and everything it has. Now, having said that, if you want to do something like an Apple Watch or an Android Watch kind of thing, you still have to revert to Kotlin. So like if you wanted something where you're like everything is done in Flutter, and then you want to do a watch application or a watch application or tvOS, then maybe it'll work with tvOS, some of the stuff, but like whereas you got something like Xamarin, which is cross-platform, but that you could do that stuff with, right? So you could do a watch application in Xamarin, which is, you know, kind of cool. I've never done it, but like I've read the documentation on how to do it. So I don't know when you're doing the user interface if you actually have to use the Xcode UI stuff or not. But no, I don't think, I mean, seriously, you think they kill Flutter? I mean, I don't know. I kind of think they're going to keep that one around. I don't trust Facebook to not get rid of React Native. Oh, by the way, what about all that metaverse stuff, huh? Like, everybody seems to be talking about it. I haven't, like, it's one of those things thinking, should I be looking into this? How do you, like, can we code for the meta thing? Or is it, you know, let's see. Adrian, Celtic Whispers, hey, how's it going? What's up, homie? What's up, homeboy? I was gonna swear. Should I swear? Shit, yeah, I should swear. Eric, are you getting hit with paying VAT on the money Apple sends you? My accountant says I have to pay, but tell her Apple has already charged this to the user. Yeah, to me, my accountant has, sorry, this is one of those things. I'm afraid to say anything because then it'll be like, well, Eric says it's okay. And it's like, Eric, you got to do it now too. But yeah, no, my accountant says, you know, that's different. I don't know what I do pay. I think I just pay the standard 20%. No, actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's exempt or not. It is different because with Google Play, you know which countries everyone's paying from, and with Apple, you don't. It's like you don't have that granular thing. Apple handles all of that, and you just get revenue from Apple. So if Apple's not paying VAT to you, then you shouldn't be paying VAT back to somebody else, right? If they're like, if I have any clients and I'm making any money through any clients and they're paying VAT to me, then then the VAT goes to the government, obviously. So it's part of that. So, you know, when I do my VAT payment, but like if Apple's not paying me VAT, and I don't think they are, right? I don't think that there's any VAT payments coming to me from Apple. If anybody should be paying Apple, it should be VAT. And Apple's really good at paying taxes. But yeah, no, my whole thing, I would look into that. In fact, Adrian, if you let me, well, this is a big windows here still. Adrian, if you let me know how that goes, because, you know, I've been doing this for years, and, you know, it's one of those things where my accountant will every so often, when they contacted me, said we got VAT Moss now and we have to do this Google Play stuff. So every VAT quarter, I have to send all my financial reports with the Google Play Development Console. But but for the Google Play Developer Console, but I don't have to do that with others with Apple, or even I don't have to do it with Amazon either. Amazon's one of these ones. I honestly, I've not updated an app in Amazon since 2016, I guess. I still occasionally on months I'll get like Amazon is paying me like £1.80. I'm like, who's like, it's such an old application. Like I left Amazon for dead ages ago, and I still occasionally get those in. Let's see. Leonardo Leo says, "Happy holiday." Is it a holiday today? Or is it, you mean happy holidays like Christmas? Yeah, I'm not quite sure. And it says, Mr. Noob says, nowadays I see job sites listing jobs for no-code tool experts. Interesting. It was one of those. It's interesting. A lot of people say like these no-code tools are gonna make developers irrelevant, but I don't think that's going to be the case. A lot of the times, developers, like, you have to kind of, a lot of these no-code tools when I use, you kind of have to understand how certain parts of code work. I remember once seeing somebody saying, if you're going to learn how to do cross-platform development, it's good to learn some of the native stuff, so at least you have an idea of how activities work, or how, going from one page to another works, everything like that. And no-code tools make it sound like anybody could just read the manual and do it. And that might be the case, but there's some technical thought that goes into it. I think about I was telling somebody this the other day, where when I started off with Microsoft Access. And it was like everything I did was using that. If you guys have ever used Access 97 or Access 2000, like we're talking ages ago, right? Where every query I'd write was that drag and drop query editor thing, right? And I didn't know how to use SQL. SQL scared me, right? The same like first time I did like a front page thing, it was like, you look at the HTML, that kind of scared me. And then you start to realize, first of all, when you look at Access and when they generate the SQL behind the scenes and you do the show me the source, they add a lot of junk in there. The same as if you go into, if you save Word as a web page, it puts all this junk in there, a bunch of CSS you don't need, a bunch of stuff there. It's just, it's cluttered, right? But when you learn how to do it yourself, and start from scratch, it's actually a lot easier than you think it is. But you could do a lot with Access, and you could do probably a lot with these kinds of different tools. But every so often you get into that pinch where you have to bail yourself out of everything. And when I think about no-code tools, I think about Microsoft SharePoint. Years ago, where I was working this contract, and they decided they were going to become a SharePoint shop, right? And I was, I'm a developer, so I was like, I'm writing modules in C# that connect to the SharePoint backend, and I'm doing all the REST APIs and everything like that. And it was just like pulling teeth. It was just a nasty, nasty development environment. I hated it. I'll say even still today, I hate it so much that it will never ever redeem itself with me. I don't care if you come to me and say SharePoint's really cool now. I don't care. It was so awful to me back then. I will never ever forgive it. But I hate SharePoint. Hate it. Oh God. Give me a minute. Anyway, so we're at this point where I was like, I hated working with SharePoint. I said, okay. I said, we need to get some help. We need to get a SharePoint developer to help me out on this, or I'm leaving. That was kind of my thing. It wasn't that dramatic, but it was kind of like a, I made my feelings. I wasn't holding back about how much I hated that nasty, ugly piece of software that's that so many businesses rave about. Sorry. So I said, we have to get this developer in. We got a developer in, and most of what he did, he said he was a SharePoint developer, but he knew how to do a little bit of code, but most of what he did was configuration. And I'm like, that's not a developer. A developer doesn't do configuration. But, a lot of that stuff was really complicated. You had to go in and use all these different, it was like was it Jerry Seinfeld said like this thing about lawyers is like when you play a game, the lawyer's the guy who's read the back of the box. Like he knows all the rules. He's actually read the rules. Like I think sometimes some people are going to say they're developers when really all they've done is like they've learned how, all the menu options and how to go in and do all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It might not be so bad for these no-code tools. And it might become one of those things that it's just, it might be beneficial to just learn some of this stuff. However, I'm not sure what the big one is. I don't know what the WordPress of no-code tools is. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's see. Where was I? Leonardo says it's a holiday here in Brazil today. Oh, is it? Oh, you're gonna tell us what it is? I guess here we had Guy Fawkes night a few weeks ago. So a week ago Friday. So we had the bonfire night. And we had all the the Remembrance and Veterans Day and everything. Well, Remembrance Day over here, but let's see. Matthew says I have 6 active subscriptions to Silver and Gold Scrap Calculator. 6 is a lot. I mean, how's that doing? I mean, have you ever heard about that thing where they say you give fewer features? Like most websites will only give 3 just because you give less choices. But I mean, how's that working out for you? Let's see. Mr. Noob says, what feature should a no-code tool have to be promising? I think probably the biggest one is that you could put your app out there tomorrow. Like you could just, let's see. I can remember when, again, this is one of those things. Back in the old days when all you could see around here was miles and miles of fields, like HTML developers, like they were actually like in demand. Like we need somebody to do our website, and all the HTML was done by scratch, right? And I remember reading all these tutorials about how to use dynamic HTML, and you had to code it differently for different browsers. Like Netscape would handle things differently. Netscape would handle layers a different way than Internet Explorer would. And sometimes somebody said, "What about Opera?" And you're like, F off, right? Because like you always have that one what about Opera guy who just shows up, right? And now now you got Safari and Edge, and I guess you can just still do Internet Explorer and Chrome. But now it's like I can get away with just doing Chrome, but everything was done by scratch. And then you had WordPress and Magenta, and was it Magenta? And there was it Mambo? There was Joomla, Drupal, WordPress. And WordPress, I use WordPress for everything. It just you set it up and you just get it working. Now the big criticism of WordPress is it's slow and it's not very efficient, and it's it's not as fast as if you coded it from hand, because it got all this configuration in there. You load a WordPress page, it's got all this check this, then check this, then check this, then check this. So you got all this stuff, and your server has to be pretty, it starts to get really sluggish if you have too much data and all this kind of stuff. Whereas if you just had it like a straight code, it would be faster. Now, is that worth paying for? Like, saying, oh, that WordPress site you have, I know you were able to just get that thing up and running in a day, but what you really need to do is go into 6 months of development and hire somebody to do it all from scratch. And then if you have any problems with it, you have to go back to that same developer to fix it for you. So like a no-code thing would, might be really good for them, because then they're not dependent on a developer, rather dependent on a development company. And also, one of the things like with Appy Pie and all this stuff, they were like, whenever there was a change to whatever the operating systems or whatever, then you're basically going with a large company, and they would have to go through and make that change and make sure that your application is going to handle it, as opposed to, like, let's say, okay, well, iOS 15 point whatever, let's say in the future, iOS 16 is not going to be supporting this feature, so we're going to be removing it, and they could contact all the companies and say, yeah, we have to remove it, as opposed to a developer who wrote it 5 years ago and he's no longer available, or he's not paying attention and whatever. And so I can see the need for some of this kind of stuff, especially when you get like a chat application, right? How many times do we have to reinvent the wheel with writing a chat application? If it's all you want to do is have a chat application, surely there's some no-code solutions out there that will do that for you. And you could test out the market. Even if you wanted to add little things that they don't allow, you could at least test out the market with an application like a no-code solution. And then if you did have to go hire a developer, then you should. Now, I've had conversations with clients, prospects call up, say, I've got this app. I want it to be exactly like this other app, or I want it to do this kind of thing. And sometimes I'll look at it and go, that could be, you should use this Appy Pie thing. I don't want to say what they are because I've signed so many NDAs. Like, I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about anymore. But you got something that's just like a simple database. And you're like, and I've actually told people, you should look at like Appy Pie. And then because there'll be people like, they're starting out. They're not like a big company with huge budget. It's like somebody who's saved a bunch of money and he wants to build it. I'm like, if I did it, it'd be like, what, 8,000, 10,000. But if you go over there, you could like, you're paying $20 a month and you might be able to do it yourself. The reality is you probably have to hire somebody on Upwork to do it for you just because it's still a bit, weird and everything. But what do you got? Do you guys agree with that? Let's see. Calculators premium features. Okay. Mr. Adrian says, I definitely think no-code tools like Adalo are low cost with low time way of testing a basic MVP, especially now with all the templates available now. Yeah, Adalo is the one that I haven't really, I know we talked about this one before, and I haven't really looked into that one very much. To me, I'm thinking if it was something where it's a skill that's marketable to other people, then that's, like even with Overpass, if we were going to do something where we're for a while we were doing, we were kind of advertising the technologies that we did, like, Ionic and Corona SDK and everything like that. And in the end, I found that most of the clients that we were getting didn't really, it was confusing them. It was like if you went to a website and they said, if you went to a website and you knew nothing about cooking and they said we could do Cajun or we could cook with we could use a whisk, like this kind of whisk or that kind of whisk or that kind. We're like, dude, this is way too complicated for me. Like, this is not my level. So you have to go back to the bit that was, we can make you food. We can make you delicious food, the kind that you like. And then, so I've seen this a lot with like developer websites where they get really technical. They'll have the PHP logo on there and the MySQL logo on there and all this kind of stuff, saying this is the kind of stuff we do. So they cater more towards developers, and a lot of times developers don't really need a lot of work. So people who are not developers that do. I'm just rambling on, aren't I? Or I was born a rambling man. Let's see. Ergy. Hey, Ergy, how's it going? Hey, Eric, I just integrated an in-app review API on my Android Studio app project. Do you think it will grow app ranking strongly? I think it should help, right? So you still have to, because I've done that in a few applications, and it's nice that it could trigger the, come up and everything. It does, but not necessarily. It's kind of it's like hopefully it will, right? You just have to ask, right? You have to ask, but like how often do you get the pop-up that says, hey, you want to rate this app? And you're like, no, right? Even as an app developer, somebody in the industry where I realize how important this is still like, no. But I found with other applications when we did integrate that, or even just having it readily available, even back in the old days, we had to go back to the Google Play page. It did increase the number of reviews you have. So it's definitely worth putting in there, and hopefully it will improve them. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to do. And Matthew says, and I added premium features to the iOS version last week. Cool. No subs on iOS. Are you having users? So how many users? It's on Android. Okay, no subscriptions on iOS. Jose, hey, how's it going? Hey, Eric, I see your developer name on Google Play has more than 30 characters. Do you plan to change it soon or just wait till they force you to change it? I have dropped mine to download, and downloads dropped 80%. I am going to wait until they force me to do it. I think it's one of those things. I'm going to, yeah, it's like you want to, I said, so like my Google Play developer name is like, it's like Overpass Apps, Superhuman Apps and Games, right? I just put that in there. I don't know why. I just thought, like it wasn't necessarily targeting any keywords, but I just like the sound of it. And one of the nice things is when somebody calls up and says, hey, Overpass apps, superhuman apps and games. My name is like, it's obviously some I could detect the spam bots and everything like that. The same way as on my LinkedIn profile, my last name is all caps because somebody like read something years ago that said, draw attention to your profile. And now whenever I see something that says, hi, Eric Wroolie, and it gets really like uppercase, then I know it's some bot. And I was like, well, it's like obviously not worth looking at. But yeah, I don't have any plans to do it. I know right now I've got this huge task in front of me to go through and start updating all the app information about the privacy stuff. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm thinking about. For the most part, I'm not collecting any data on anybody. I just need to find out whether or not analytics, like, how analytics figure into all that kind of stuff. So do I have to go through and start saying, like, all that kind of stuff. But most of the time, so it's just a thing. Like when you have like, probably have about 50 apps that are currently live that I have not removed, and it's just going to be this thing where it goes, and it's just like you go through, and either I want to make somebody on my team do it, but then I'm thinking, well, or there could be exceptions to it, or I'm going to do it where I just go through and right click, open 50 tabs, slow my computer down, and go through each one going, no, save, no, save, no, save. Everybody with me? No, save. So yeah, that's something that I probably need to do. So Robert says it's hard to tell what factors Google Play actually uses for ranking on the Google Play Store. I know they're just generally really cryptic about that. I was talking to somebody the other day. We're talking about YouTube actually, because I was saying how like I haven't been doing a lot on YouTube. I was talking to somebody I met who I was at the pub, and I was talking to somebody who's like a TikTok star. So it's like she's like a model or something, and so Bob was like more interested in like the TikTok side of things. So like or like the shorts, because we've been doing shorts, but I'm not quite sure if they're working really well or whatever. And like and it just seems like it's too short. So like I'll do like a few new ones from time to time, but like a lot of it we're using the old stuff. I know you guys noticed, and it seems to be like, and then the conversation turned like everybody started like joining in on it, and it wasn't like they were necessarily in like YouTube or anything, but we're talking about how much trouble Google's in, how much trouble YouTube's in, how like like it's like the landscape's going to change going forward with all these restrictions and everything like that. And I think we're seeing that a lot with the information that they're asking. I think it's crazy that they're asking now whether or not your app is a COVID tracking application. Like how many apps out there are COVID tracking applications that we all have to say, no, it isn't. Like just, I think that was really crazy. Like it's the kind of thing where you think, didn't somebody ask, is it really fair to have to ask every single developer to go in and say, no, my app is not a news app. No, my app is not a corona tracking application, and better to just go in and say, okay, let's identify the ones that are, and then have them fill that stuff in. But yeah, Google Play's getting weird. Well, actually, I think the Google stuff in general is getting weird. Apple's I don't know. Apple with the whole ad revenue thing. Yeah, what I said earlier about ad revenue. Yeah, I didn't take into consideration the whole iOS 14.5 or whatever it was when they started to ask for permission to serve ads. Shaggy Dwarf. Hey, Shaggy Dwarf. Hello from Indie Russia. Like your channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I like your name. Orbital Invaders. I see. Mr. Noob says, last time you didn't have time to review that book. I would appreciate if you could tell me if anything else I need to learn outside the book. Which book was it? Oh, it was the Oh, was this the Flutter book? Oh yeah, I haven't looked at that either. Okay, yeah. Let me, Mr. Noob, can you send me a link to that? Just so, I mean, I know you can't do it through the chat here, but if you could send it to info@overpass.co.uk, just so I can, probably should have a look through it. I mean, it's what's his name? Oh, yeah. Well, I'm saying Ray Bradbury, not Ray Bradbury. But yeah, I do still need to look at that one. I remember that. Sorry, Mr. Noob, haven't done it. I've not done the homework. I've not done this week's homework assignment. So hey, it looks like that's really, is that it? Is that the end of the questions? Wow, we have a nice short live stream. Okay, I need to get on my game. I realize this every single time I do a live stream. I haven't done any videos for a while. A lot of it is just, I'm thinking, okay, well, I start to do a video. I'm like, I've already talked about this. I've already talked about this. And so like a lot of the regular videos haven't been there. I've been doing the live streams, but as I showed you with my app revenue report, it's one of those things I need to get on that. We've been super busy with client stuff. A lot of like marketing towards towards clients. We've been working on this project, a lot of Flutter stuff, and I'm trying to get an application out that makes full use of Firebase, using the full. I want to use the app check. I want to use all that kind of stuff. Using Firestore, using Firestore all the way throughout, and the cloud functions and everything, and no dependencies on anything else outside of Firebase or the apps themselves. Even hosting the hosting PWA within the hosting, Firebase hosting. So trying to get all that stuff set up. In fact, this morning I spent a couple hours this morning just trying to set up a new domain name, and unsuccessfully. But what it says when you set up a domain, it says could take 24 to 48 hours. It never takes 48 hours, but for today, it seems to be like taking forever. So, let's see, is a Flutter Apprentice giveaway. I'll have a look at that. Oh yeah, that's the one that was. That's the one that was chargeable, right? I'll have a look at it, Mr. Newby. If you could send me that link to that. Anyway, everybody, hey, thanks everyone gave a thumbs up. Thanks for everybody who still showed up, even though I've been have not done a live stream for a few weeks. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys. Let's see, one more question here from Solento Apps says, it would be nice to review some apps on the channel. That would definitely make a live stream a bit longer if that's a concern. It's not really to make it longer. I mean, one of the things when I was doing the daily videos that everybody was saying is like, you should review apps, right? And the reason I didn't like the idea of that, even when my apps were doing really, really well and the channel was growing, was because it's really easy to look at other people's applications and say why they're not doing well or why they are doing well, right? But it's harder to actually create those applications and put them out yourself. Like a lot of times people do these app teardowns, like this is why such and such app is doing so well, right? And it reminds me of a lot of business books which talk about why Apple's doing so well. It's like, well, if you knew that at the beginning, then why didn't you just do it? Like you just, basically they're the ones taking all the risk and doing the innovation, and you're just pointing to it and saying, oh yeah, I could have told you that was why we did it. I could have told you, oh, see, this is what they're doing right. This is what they're doing right here. And like, dude, like, if you knew about it before, why aren't you doing it? So, anyway, hey everybody. One more thing from Mugo. Let's see. Hey Eric, I have an app with more than 200 downloads but no subscriptions. Any tips on getting users to subscribe? I think 200 downloads is not a whole lot. I think you need to keep getting them in there and make sure that you're constantly have those subscriptions front and center. Like, make sure that it's not tucked away somewhere. Make sure that you could, whenever they click on something, that's one of those things. As a developer, I always hated having a button that was disabled, right? I would have especially on a website, I would always have a project manager say, okay, we want to have the button, but disable it, right? I'm thinking, well, why show somebody a button they can't even use, right? And that makes sense when it's something like permissions based where they'll never have access to it. Like, there's no reason for somebody to see a button that says admin access if they're not an administrator, right? However, if it's something that they can have access to, all they have to do is make a purchase, you still want to have that button there and not even disable it. What you want to do is have that pop-up that says, oh, great, you want to use this feature. To use this feature, you have to, subscribe or whatever. Let's see. I have over 2,000 active downloads and only 6 subs. So get more downloads. Yeah, and definitely get more downloads. It's surprising how few people will actually make those purchases. So yeah, you have to get those numbers in. So everybody, hey, thanks everyone for joining the live stream this week. Apavelli's here. Thanks everybody for joining hey, how's it going? Thanks everybody for joining. I hope you guys stay healthy and stay safe. We're going to do this again next Monday. Mark my words, we're going to do it next Monday. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys again next time. Bye.